give you the classic setup for this question and then turn it around and let you think about a matter of opinion. Early in an economics curriculum, you'll have a labor economics course, and you'll see that there are two curves, the supply of labor and the demand of labor. Picture the extremes, $1,000 an hour, you'd have a lot of people willing to work that hour, but few employers willing to pay it. Why? Even the most productive citizens in our economy, it's really hard for you to generate over $1,000 an hour worth of value for your employer. So maybe a lawyer in a must-win court case, you'd be willing to pay that much for a very skilled person. Maybe the most capable salesperson on the huge deal that will change the course of your business, maybe you'd be willing to go there. But there just aren't that many hours that are that productive in the economy. Well, let's go to the other extreme. Suppose a dollar an hour. Well, not many people would even prefer to work it. They would prefer their free time to the dollar an hour, at least in the States. Whereas the demand of labor would be huge. Like we would, not just at work, but probably in our households, have things that we would rather pay the dollar and not have to do anymore. So the demand of labor would be a very high quantity at a dollar, but a very low supply. And so that creates two curves, and they meet in the middle, and just like everything in economics, you need a picture, and that middle is the equilibrium. And that's just natural market forces where the wage goes, the equilibrium wage. So when you establish a minimum wage, if it's below it, it doesn't matter. So if the equilibrium is 10, a minimum wage at $8 doesn't change anything. If you establish it above, which is usually the whole point of a minimum wage, that does two things. That says you've moved out on the quantity that people would want to supply, so more people want to work at 20 than 15 or 10. But also, there are fewer employers that just have jobs that you can create that much value for. You can create, there's lots of things that an employer would be willing to pay 15 an hour for. So at that level, there's a lower quantity of hours demanded by employers. More people wanting to work than there are jobs available, that means unemployment increases. So the usual takeaway from that is, if you got the raise, you're happy with this minimum wage. If you're one of the people that's newly employed, then you lament the increased minimum wage. So that's the basic setup. Here's where opinion comes in. Unemployment is really, really low today. Could that be enacted without spreading those too far apart? Could we establish it a little bit because employers need so much labor and there's just not a lot of labor to go around relative to the job openings? Could we creep that up? That's always the question. There's a risk that unemployment spikes. There's a risk that things aren't always as rosy as they are right now. And so you raise it during good times, but then in bad times, you have a worse unemployment situation than you would have done nothing for. And there's a bit of a sweetener too, that if just more people have more dollar in their pocket, that could have a little stimulative effect on the economy. Maybe they can be entrepreneurial themselves, or they would spend in ways that they would just be kind of paying the necessities for. So that's a piece of it, that's a consideration. I'll turn over that to you for an opinion, but that's the basic setup.